What up, though, everybody, and welcome to Lions Nation Unite. I am Spencer Raxter of Woodward Sports. I appreciate you tapping in. Make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and give us a follow on Lions Nation Unite on Instagram, Facebook, and X as well. Lions Nation Unite is a platform bringing together all different types of content creators for the Detroit Lions from all different walks of life to provide great content and keep you guys updated on the happenings of the Detroit Lions. Again, I am Spencer Raxter of Woodward Sports, and I appreciate you guys tapping in with me. Now, we've had a lot to talk about. Obviously, the Detroit Lions play football this month. It is July. They've got the Hall of Fame game coming up, and we're seeing a lot of lists go out there, whether it be PFF ranking their top 10 whoever's, but really, who cares about PFF? I honestly do not care about anything that PFF has to say. You're seeing Madden rankings come out there, and I know people like to make a big deal out of Madden rankings, but it really doesn't mean much when you talk about what these players actually are and who these players actually are. I think there are two lists that come out every year that you can really put some stock into. There's two lists every year that when you see those lists comes out and you see the ratings of the players, you're like, okay, that one actually holds some real weight. And one of those is the top 100 every year that is voted on by the players. I think that is the most important list, truly, when you look at how they rank the top 100 players, because it's taken from every player in the NFL and they give their guys, and these are the guys going up against them every single day, playing against them every single day. Are there some biases? Are there some friendships? Are there things? Yeah, obviously you're going to have that when you're talking about the highest level of athlete. And you're talking about any kind of ranking, really. There are going to be some biases amongst friends and different things like that. But I think you get a pretty accurate depiction of who the players in the NFL think are the best players in the NFL. And I think the other list, other than the top 100 that the players make, that really matters are ones when you see like these coming out. ESPN has been polling executives, scouts, and coaches to rank their top 10 players on multiple different positions. Now, these are the ball knowers of ball knowers. When you look at the people in the NFL, the guys that know the most ball are the head coaches, the executives, and the scouts for all of these different teams. Recently, they pulled for their top 10 safeties in the NFL. Now, obviously, this is a list that had a lot of Lions fans intrigued. When you look at the back end of the Lions secondary, it is bookended by two of the best safeties in the NFL in Kirby Joseph, the first team All-Pro, and Brian Branch, who I believe was kind of snubbed for an all-pro team. I think he should have made it. If he wouldn't have dealt with a little bit of an injury or an ejection here, I think that he would have made this list, because he's just an insane football player. And he does things like let me find this real quick, because this is just another thing to prove why Brian Branch is so good. We put it out on LNU. Easy found the stat for Brian Branch that was really just insane when you look at what he's doing in this league. Sorry, let me go to the LNU page and search it up. But when you see lists like this, when you see the top players voted on by coaches, executives, and GMs, it just means more than a PFF rating, or it just means more than a media vote, or it just means more than Madden ratings with Ocho Cinco throwing different numbers out there. It means these are the guys that watch these players, these are the guys that draft these players, and these are the guys that evaluate these players on an everyday basis. And that can provide a lot of context into what people who are drafting players, what people who are forming and building these teams in the NFL see from different players, and how they value them according to other players at their position group. And we talked about this safety one being important for Lions fans, because you got one safety right here in Brian Branch, who is the only defensive back in the last 100 years to record a season with 100 plus tackles, with 15 plus pass breakups, and with 5 tackles for loss all in one season. First guy to do that in 100 years is Brian Branch. Just an absolutely insane stat. So you think he's got to be on this list. And when you look at this list, we'll do the top 5. We'll start in at number 5 on this list. It is the one, it is the only, it is the first team All-Pro Kirby Joseph. So ESPN polled NFL executives, scouts, and coaches, and they ranked Kirby Joseph fifth amongst safeties in the NFL. He is ahead of Derwin James at number 6, Antoine Winfield at number 7, and is behind Jesse Bates at number 4 and Xavier McKinney at number 3. Now, when I look at the top upper echelon safeties in the NFL, I do believe they put all of the right ones in this list. But I am not taking Kirby Joseph and putting him under Xavier McKinney. You look at the other guys ahead of Kirby Joseph on this list, and they're kind of do-it-all safeties. They're guys that go out there and they play in the run, they play in the box, they get to the quarterback, they do different things out there. Kirby Joseph is a true center fielder. He is a true ball hawk, and he is the best coverage safety in the NFL. He had the most interceptions in the NFL. He had the highest or the lowest, passer rating allowed when targeted in the NFL. This guy is an absolute disruptor, and it's not like he's not afraid to come up and lay a lick on somebody. Go look at Michael Gallup and ask him how Kirby Joseph tackles. But Kirby Joseph at 5 in this list, I'm not tripping except for one reason. Xavier McKinney should not be rated above Kirby Joseph. They play the same position. They're both free safeties. They're both ball hawks. Maybe you like Xavier McKinney in the box a little bit more, but it's not enough to put him over Kirby Joseph in this list. I think that is a little ridiculous. I'm putting Kirby Joseph over both Jesse Bates and Xavier McKinney, who are at the 4 and 3 spots on this list, where Kirby Joseph taps in at number 5. The Detroit Lions' other safety, aforementioned Brian Branch, who was the first safety in 100 seasons to have 100 plus tackles, 15 plus tackles, or pass breakups, and 5 plus tackles for loss in the same year. He checks in at number 2 in this list, and I thought this was a little surprising for me, not because Brian Branch isn't one of the most talented safeties in the NFL, but because you look at the other ways that these lists have go, and Brian Branch always seems to get a little slighted. We, as Detroit Lions fans, know the ability that Brian Branch has, but he wasn't an all-pro list. He wasn't making all these super high lists. So maybe, I don't know. I felt like, because I've been looking at PFF lists and I've been looking at these different Madden grades and stuff like that, that I thought Brian Branch was going to get slighted at this list. But when you look at the true essence of ball knowers in the NFL, players, coaches, scouts, and executives, the guys who decide which players are good enough to go to teams, the guys who are drafting these players based on their ability, they see Brian Branch as the second best safety in the NFL, ahead of his own teammate Kirby Joseph, ahead of guys like Xavier McKinney, Jesse Bates, Derwin James, and Antoine Winfield. The only safety that NFL coaches, executives, and scouts ranked over Brian Branch is Kyle Hamilton of the Baltimore Ravens, and I don't think anybody can have a lot of gripes with that. But Brian Branch is just an absolute do-it-all for this Lions team. Again, I can go back to that stat that I've shown a couple times. You see him playing in the box. You see him covering man on wide receivers in the red zone, in the open field. You see him taking a lot of responsibilities when it comes to covering backs and tight ends in the flats. He's an absolute missile when he comes screaming down of his position when he has decided that a player gets the ball or that he identifies a run. His play identification is so impressive for how fast he has to do things. Brian Branch is one of the most talented players in the NFL. He is one of the most talented defensive players in the NFL. And I truly believe if he stays healthy, if he doesn't have to miss any games, Brian Branch is going to be at the short list when you look at defensive players of the year next year in the National Football League. This guy can truly do it all. Like I said, he plays in the box. He plays in man coverage. He can play in zone coverage. He can help over the top. He can cover a tight end, a running back, a wide receiver. It doesn't matter. This guy, Brian Branch, can do it. And you're looking at him getting acknowledged for that by NFL executives, scouts, and coaches, guys that see him on tape. They see the type of player he is. They see the multiple facets of his game and the different things that he could bring to a defense. And they believe he is the second best safety in the league, only behind Kyle Hamilton. I'm not mad at it. I'm really happy to see Brian Branch getting this type of respect because that is the caliber of player he is. The Detroit Lions do have 2 of the top 5 safeties in the National Football League. I believe Kirby Joseph should be at 3, personally. I wouldn't even be mad if you had him at 2. But I believe this list should look Kyle Hamilton 1. If you want to keep Brian Branch 2, fine. Kirby Joseph should be at 3, and then Jesse Bates at 4, then Xavier McKinney at 5. I might even put Derwin James over Xavier McKinney. Maybe that's just me hating on the Packers, but Xavier McKinney should not be ahead of Kirby Joseph. The top 3 safeties in the NFL right now, in no order, are Kyle Hamilton, Kirby Joseph, and Brian Branch. I think that is a given. And I look at this Detroit Lions secondary as someone who is going to be a household name amongst NFL fans if they weren't already, because you have 2 of the best 3 safeties in the NFL on the back end. You've got Terrion Arnold, who, if he was just what he was last year, he's a cornerback 2 on a 15-win team, but I think we all expect him to take a leap. And then you bring in DJ Reed, who is one of the most underrated cornerbacks in the NFL, on top of having Amik Robertson and on top of having good depth pieces like Ennis Rakestraw, Avonte Maddox, and Rakia Sin. This Detroit Lions secondary is going to be special to watch next year, and it is headlined by 2 of the best safeties in the NFL. Coaches, executives, and scouts all rank Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch both within the top 5 of NFL safeties. I do believe Kirby Joseph should be higher. I think the top 3 safeties in the league are Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, and Kyle Hamilton in no particular order. Those guys are ball hawks. Those guys are playmakers, and those guys flip games. They just absolutely do. I expect them to be even better next year when you have Aiden Hutchinson coming back. But Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch are by far and away the best safety combination in the NFL, and I don't think it's really close. You have 2 top 5 safeties in the back end of that defense making everything work. And when you add Aiden Hutchinson back to that to kind of give that quarterback a little extra pep in his step, to make sure he's letting go of the ball maybe a little sooner than he wanted to, or maybe trying to force things a little bit more because you have Hutch breathing down his neck. That is where Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch will capitalize. Next year is going to be fun to see how these 2 top flight safeties work through this secondary. Appreciate you guys tapping in. I am Spencer Raxter of Woodward Sports. This has been Lions Nation Unite. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and follow on Facebook, Instagram, and X. I will see you guys next time. This is Lions Nation Unite. Peace.